Hi, and welcome to Graduation Requirements. Courses, credits, transcripts, oh my. I'm Katie Glennon, and I'm a former homeschooler of two boys who graduated from college with masters with distinction. I've also am a former teacher with an English degree and a secondary education degree, and I have taught in all kinds of classrooms as well as I was a teacher trainer. This workshop is going to hopefully ease your mind about homeschooling in high school and if your child is going to get into college, as well as get a job. And get a job if they're not going to college as soon as they graduate from high school. It's also going to explore different pathways to do this, depending upon your interests and your child's interests. And I can tell you that from experience, even though I was in the secondary education system, I was even a little nervous when my first child was in middle school and we were heading toward high school. And I wasn't quite sure how this whole graduating from high school was going to work and getting into college. But I want to assure you that, especially nowadays, colleges love homeschoolers, and they also love homeschoolers who have particular, unique interests and have explored those interests and have really experienced a lot of things outside the classroom that students who have spent their time in the classroom full time have not had the opportunity to actually experience, as well as any kind of leadership roles that the homeschoolers have um, earned or learned from in these experiences. Those will all add to getting a job as well as getting into a college. Now we're going to go over scope and sequence suggestions for different paths, as I said, career-bound or college-bound, graduation requirements from high school with subject and course suggestions, as well as an explanation of credits and credit hours, non-traditional methods of completing those credit hours, and I will just show you some of the opportunities available, and I encourage you, if you want more details about those opportunities, there is another workshop that I am doing about leadership skills development in high school, and I get into a lot of details about those particular opportunities. So I encourage you to look for that workshop if you want to look at some non-traditional methods to complete credit hours and also get some great hands-on experience for your child during the high school years. We used a lot of hands-on opportunities where they gained a lot of hands-on experience, leadership roles, awards, and we were able to use some of those hours and those things that they were learning toward credit hours for electives, and even some of those credit hours were contributing to the total credit hours for some subject areas. We'll also discuss transcripts. I have a sample filled out one as well as a blank one that you can use. We'll talk about diplomas and then other paperwork. Now, let's look at some common concerns and misconceptions, because homeschooling during high school does not need to be scary and intimidating. And there are a lot of questions usually out there that parents have, and they become quite worried. So some of those misconceptions might be you have to have a standard set of specific courses and curriculum in order to graduate. They have to be specific classes, they have to be accredited by some sort of institution or agency. You don't have to have that. Curriculum has to be accredited and also in a formal setting in order for my child to earn the credit and graduate. No, they don't have to. My child needs to take advanced placement classes and then take the advanced placement tests. Well, if your child is planning on going to Harvard, you might want to look into that. Other colleges, no. It's difficult to be accepted in college as a homeschool graduate? No. My children both received a lot of great feedback for being homeschooled. They showed a lot of self-initiative in the classroom. They completed their homework assignments on time and turned them in on time because that's what they were expected to do at home, and that's what they did in college. And believe me, that was a breath of fresh air. We also emphasized being able to write a paper before they went to college, which is something a lot of college students apparently have a big struggle with. So that was something else that was constantly commented on with both my kids. They enjoyed my children's experiences that they've had versus being in a classroom full time. They could tell that they have experienced a number of things, and they had a wide vision of different learning opportunities as opposed to just advanced placement classes. And that was also commented on. The biggest thing, though, was the self-initiative and the self-discipline and learning, being able to learn on your own, because that's a lot of what college is learning on your own. I can't grade my child's transcript and diploma, and I can't create it, grade them, graduate them on my own. No, you can create the transcript, you can also create the diploma, or you can purchase a diploma and give the company the information. And they can still get into college. Now, don't forget the swag bag item, because everything that we're going over here in this workshop is included in the swag bag item, as well as different forms and links and information that I'm going to review with you here. Let's look at credit hours first. A credit hour, that is equal to 1 full year course. It is a major subject area normally, and it is 120 to 150 hours of work. A community college, if you choose to use that, we're going to discuss that in a moment. 1 semester of community college work would be the equivalent of 1 credit hour, or 1 year's worth of work in high school, just because of how quickly and advanced, quick paced and advanced, and the number of hours that they're going to spend in the classroom as well as on homework. It should be given a full credit. Half credit would be the equivalent of a half a year or 1 semester course, which are usually very specific subject areas, and I'm going to show you those, as well as elective courses. And we're looking at 60 to 75 hours of work there. And a quarter credit is usually a half a semester or a quarter of a year. And those would be very specific, like smaller electives, 30 to 40 hours worth of work. And normally what I did was I took maybe a smaller elective, combined it with another similar smaller elective, such as health and nutrition, combined that and made that a half credit and called it health and nutrition. So let's take a look at the scope and sequence for the college bound. There are minimum high school graduation requirements where they have to have a certain number of credits, and there are certain classes that are required. Testing, in order to graduate from high school, that depends upon your state. Some states require yearly testing, some require every 3 years with certain grade levels, including 12th grade. So you'd have to look at your state and see what your testing requirements to graduate from high school are. As far as testing to get in college, there are standardized tests such as ACT and SAT, and some of the colleges post-COVID are beginning to require these standardized tests. Others still do not. For a while there, it was pretty rare that they even required it. But we're kind of getting back to some of them requiring certain tests and certain scores. So you'll want to take a look at that and look at the colleges that you might be interested in applying. There used to be writing portions that were in person for these tests prior to COVID, and they were required by a lot of colleges. They got away from the writing portion during COVID, and a lot of them are still doing away with the writing portion post-COVID. As far as AP course credit and testing, that depends upon the college. It's not required for acceptance, but again, if you're applying to Harvard, you're going to want to look at that. Now, the scope and sequence, it's a minimum of 24 credits total. If you have a more challenging college, they may want more credits. So they also will want to see more challenging courses on the transcript. And what I mean by that, by more challenging courses, I mean such as like honors courses, where you can designate any of your courses, excuse me, as honors courses by having, let's say in literature, they might have more novels to read in the literature class with more papers. In math, it would be higher level math classes taken that other students may not have on their transcripts. Same thing with science. It might be a more difficult science. So those would all be something that you would want to consider if your child needs more of a challenge and they want to go to a more competitive college. How can you make some of these classes considered an honors course? And you would designate that on the transcript that it was an honors course. Some of the courses my children took were considered honors courses because of the number of novels I had them read, the number of papers I had them read, the math level class they took, the science level that they ended up taking and what was required in that science. Same thing with the history. If there was a lot more reading involved and a lot more research and a lot more papers, those could all be considered honors courses. Now, the English requirement is 4 credits, so 4 years worth, and those 4 years are typically started with some sort of intro to literature with a writing and composition, because you want your child to have a good foundation in literature where they understand what elements of the story are, different literary elements, what they are, the plot, and so forth. And you want to have your child have a good basis in knowing how to write a 5-paragraph paper and some other types of papers, analytical paper, persuasive, argumentative type paper. So you want to have them have a good foundation in writing. So that would be my first suggestion. Then from there, there's typical literature courses you might want to include, such as English, British, or European, and British, and world literature, Russian, if your child has some sort of specific interest in Russian or Asian or Middle Eastern type literature. And then some other options might be semester length, which would be a half credit, and you can have 1/2 credit of, let's say, Shakespeare, another half credit for plays, 1/2 for poetry, 1/2 for short story. So you can combine the year with only half a year or 1 semester type based literature. You can even do an examination of certain genre like fantasy, science fiction. That could be a semester for each of those. Or you could do one semester journalism, 1 semester creative writing. So these are some examples. This is all in the swag bag. Math, 4 credits are required, and typically it's algebra, geometry, algebra 2, and trigonometry / pre-calculus. That's the standard, because most colleges will want to see some kind of math past algebra 2. If you have a child who's advanced in math, or they know that they're going to be going into a challenging college degree that is very mathy. One of my children was mathy. He did algebra in 8th grade. We still put it on his transcript, gave him credit for it. He started in 9th grade with geometry, went on to algebra 1, algebra 2, trigonometry / pre-calculus, and those were a half a semester each. And then he took not a calculus class, but he took a pre-calculus class at a community college, and we're going to look at the community college options. And he did a semester of pre-calculus, which is considered a full year's worth of pre-calculus for high school. Not only did he get that credit for high school, but he was able to transfer that college credit into college and use that time that he spent in his 12th year, senior year, with that 1 credit from college. So then for history and social studies, there's 4 credits that they want, and they usually require American history as well as a semester of civics / government. And then the rest is up to you. It could be a combination of different types of history as well as social study areas. You can also tie the timing of your history in with your literature. And I'm sorry, this says English literature. It should say American literature. You could tie American history in with American literature. You could tie European history in with British literature, world history with world literature, and have them during the same year, which is what we did. And it worked out very well, because literature a lot of times was a reflection of what was going on in history during that time period. Science is 3 credits, and usually those 3 credits, there was some sort of a physical or earth science required. along with a biology with a lab, and then you could choose your other third science. Foreign languages, usually 2 minimum credits are required. It's typically Spanish, French, or German, and you'll want to check to see if your child is applying to a more competitive college. They'll need 3 or 4 credits, and you'll also want to see if your college accepts only certain types of foreign languages. If your child is interested in American Sign Language, some colleges will not accept that as a foreign language. Now, for the electives, those will be the remaining credits to equal up to 24. And usually what is required is a minimum year of physical education as an elective, as well as a semester of health. And they want to see some kind of elective that includes art or drama or music, some kind of artsy type credit to round off your child's education. Some other elective options might include some of these that are listed here, and as I said, this is all included in the swag bag if you want to get some ideas. The community college can be an option and a resource for your curriculum. For instance, if you want to take just an a la carte course for your child, like we did for pre-calculus for math, because we didn't feel comfortable teaching it at home. He didn't want to do it alone by himself online, and I certainly wasn't going to be much help. So he took that one semester during his senior year, and that worked out very well. Now, you can also do dual enrollment in community college if you want your child to take the core subject areas, maybe starting in 11th grade and 12th grade. Some parents even start as early as 9th or 10th grade. But if you want to start them on a pathway in the community college to earn college credits during the high school years, you can. There are certain pathways that they can choose depending upon your community college, and depending upon what pathway you choose, it can actually cover your core subject areas, and your child can get those out of the way. And if they want to transfer to a four-year college, you're going to want to make sure that you look into the college they want to transfer to, and that those credits you're taking from the community college will be transferred to the college. That is what we did. My son, when he graduated, he went to the same community college for 2 years and then transferred into a four-year college, which was a private expensive college, which is why he went to the community college for 2 years. And he went ahead and did the core credits that he needed that would be fully accepted by his four-year college that he was going to transfer to, because we spoke to an admissions officer and they steered us in the right direction. And that worked out really, really well. So nothing was wasted. Now, for the career bound, there are a certain number of credits required. There are also some certain classes that are required, but it will be different than the college bound. As far as testing, if you're, in my opinion, and in other people's opinion, it differs, it's best to go ahead and complete your homeschool transcript up to through senior year and have your child meet the requirements with all the curriculum that would be considered a high school curriculum, especially even for career bound, and have you go ahead and issue the diploma, because that looks like they completed the 4 years of high school. If your child is not continuing high school and wants to stop, and they have not completed their senior year, the GED is an option. I suggest that you make sure your child takes some kind of class to maybe prepare them for the GED so that they find it easier to pass and they're more prepared for taking it, and then they can have the GED. As I said, there are some opinions that it's better to just go ahead and have your child complete the 4 years, though, of work and graduate with a regular high school diploma. Now, as far as testing requirements at the end of the senior year, again, that depends upon your state and what they require. As far as getting into college, for community college, they sometimes have a test if you're not going to take the ACT or the SAT. And they may want your child to take something called, an example would be the COMPASS test. If you wonder if your child has the skills to pass the test, there are some community colleges that will offer classes that will help. They're like foundational classes that they can take. And then they can take the COMPASS test to go ahead and pursue their certain pathway that they might want to take at the community college. If they want to take some community college credit courses for some type of a licensure or a certificate they're trying to work toward, and it's going to require some community college training. However, there are non-degree programs at community colleges, and I'm getting ahead of myself, where they don't have to take the COMPASS class or a COMPASS test or any kind of test to be admitted into the college, and those non-degree courses can get them ready for taking a certificate test. So it depends upon what your child is interested in. Now, as far as the high school transcript for career bound, a minimum of 22 credits is required. English is still 4 credits. And again, I do recommend that you do the Intro to Literature type program with a writing and composition to get them in with those basic writing skills. And then again, you would want to pick the ones that we've already listed here for the college bound. Now, the math, it's only 3 credits instead of 4, and the types of classes differ. You can do an intro to math, you can do Algebra 1, you can do financial management or a consumer math, any kind of combination that you feel like your child can do. Now, the history and social studies, it's 2 credits. American history is required 1 full credit, and then a semester with civics and government is another. The sciences, it's only 2 credits instead of 3, and they usually, in the career-bound student, they usually look at applied sciences, something which is more hands-on and maybe even geared toward whatever maybe vocation they might be interested in, as well as biology. They like to see a biology on there. This is if your transcript is going to be looked over by maybe a community college. Foreign language, none. Now, the scope and sequence for the career bound with electives for the remaining credits up to 22. They want to see 1 year physical and health education with 10 credits of maybe occupational training. And this is the opportunity for them to explore occupations that they might be interested in, or a particular occupation. So this can be hands-on experience, and we're going to talk about that. It can also be looking into, again, curriculum that deals with this type of training, or it could be, and we're going to look at some hands-on experiences that might involve this type of training. And then it's a combination of work-based hours. And our district looks at 600 hours, and 225 of those hours can be actual paid part-time job. So your child could have a part-time job while they're finishing up their high school. And those hours can be applied toward the credits and put on their transcript, if this is the type of transcript you're going to put together for your child. Community-based vocational training, which I'm going to show you some examples of, and then school-based vocational training. Again, you're the school, so you can decide what is considered school-based versus community-based, and you can combine them together since we're not in an institutional building. Now, vocational ideas are also here. This is all part of your swag bag item that you can get. And again, I already kind of talked about community college, but there's a certificate path which you can go either take classes towards certificates where you'd have to be accepted in the community college, or you could take the non-degree classes maybe that they offer and go for a certificate, or you can go for an associate's degree path where you'd have to take the credit courses and complete 2 years and work toward an associate's degree. Now, you can earn credit or prepare for a career through a number of different alternative learning opportunities. And I'm just going to skim these only because in my developing leadership skills workshop, I go into these in a deeper level. But all of these different experiences can be used for applying some of the hours involved in these activities, can be applied toward the total credit hours for maybe a core subject as well as electives on your transcript. You can also apply them toward, for the career bound, some of those hands-on vocational type hours that you're looking for, and the occupational training type hours that you're looking for that transcript. So 4-H is more than animals. It has all kinds of opportunities above and beyond. YMCA, great civics and government opportunities. And again, this is all going to be listed in the swag bag with links. Community theater, great opportunity. Great credit hours for electives in drama and arts and things like that. Now, Scouts, Order of the Arrow, which is an offshoot of Scouts, venturing any kind of church-based, and again, these are all listed with links in the swag bag, are great opportunities to be involved in with hands-on type training. If you're not interested in joining the group, you have the Scout booklets that you can use as a curriculum. They have it all spelled out for you. They have the research spelled out. They have the content spelled out. They have hands-on projects to do. And all you have to do is add up the number of hours for that particular Scout book that you spent and apply it toward elective credits or even core subject area credits. As far as participating in these groups, it's great leadership opportunities. My son was involved in the Order of the Arrow. Leadership can be in over 2,000 kids, and you could be in charge of operations, finance, event planning, logistics, communications. Terrific opportunities there. As I said, you can use these credits towards civic and government. You can add some of those credits up and add them to the course. It could be hours with, you can combine some of these experiences together, not only in learning badge work or 4-H with the civics and government, or working at a polling station, or with a political party, or a page position with your local government. They can all be added together and be part of your civics and government credit. Other interest groups might be CAP, Civil Air Patrol. If your child lives in a district where they don't allow you to participate in junior ROTC, there's also Young Marines as an option, and then there are other type groups. But these are wonderful. They also have curriculum resources on their website if you want to just use the curriculum. They have wonderful aerospace and leadership education where they have to learn through these modules hands-on, and then there's testing and they rise through the ranks, and then they have leadership roles. They also have physical fitness requirements that meet up with the Presidential Fitness Award standards. If your child achieves a certain rank within CAP and they want to enlist in the Air Force, they can enlist at a higher rank. It also looks good. I'm not going to say it definitely gives you an edge, but it looks good if you're going to apply to the Air Force Academy. But there's also other things as an offshoot, like Ranger, the Ranger program. My son also had FEMA certifications. Cyber Patriots with cybersecurity training competitions is also an option. And again, I go into more detail in the leadership workshop. Explorer programs. My son was in the Police Explorers. There's also fire, EMS, business, aviation, law and government, science, skilled trades, STEM, social services, very hands-on opportunities. You actually work with those people in those jobs. My son was working alongside the police, and he had a blast. Community opportunities experiences. So look at your local community and see what is offered there. I'm not going to go through all of these. I go through them in the leadership workshop. American Legion has Boys State. There's different Christian organizations your children can get involved in. All of these opportunities here and what I've mentioned so far are great opportunities to put on your resume, your college application, your job application. Keep track of contact information of the people that are the leaders in those groups and mentors for future letters of recommendation and references. They come in very handy for job applications as well as college applications. We already talked about using the credit hours. Also, paid and unpaid jobs are always good to have. If you're looking for some sort of internship, do a Google search, internship. You will find local, paid or unpaid. Even Heritage Foundation has a paid opportunity. It's not great, but in DC it's hard to find anything paid. They do help give you a stipend to help pay for your housing, but there is a fully paid fellowship if your child qualifies. Chick-fil-A has a great customer service training program compared to most other retail and restaurant industry jobs out there. So I would highly recommend that as a part-time job. Transcripts. Now, the transcript that I'm going to show you is kind of blurry and small, but in the swag bag is an example that's totally filled out for you, as well as a blank that you can print out. You can arrange your transcript per subject area or per year. I have per year. You include your student name, school, location, contact, social security, course title with the type, credit hours, grade point, total unweighted and weighted if you want to. Most schools just want the unweighted because that's what they look at and they want to compare it to other people's unweighted. Graduation date, student activities and awards, and your SAT or ACT scores. And of course, those will also be sent directly from the testing companies to the college. As I said, this is very small, but this is all filled out and it's in the swag bag and it has all the content for you. This is the second page. Now, diplomas, here's a list of resources where you can actually get really nice looking diplomas printed and sent to you. You can create your own, which is perfectly legal. And this is also in your swag bag. And some optional documents that you might want to include would be curriculum descriptions. I have a worksheet that you can fill out with all about your curriculum that you used in case you want to keep record of that. Your child might want to write a sample essay with a personal narrative about themselves, any kind of job activity, or personal character reference letters and recommendations. Start collecting those. And I also have a record that I'm going to show you where you can log in all of the different activities your child has done in the number of hours, a description, any kind of role and awards they've won, and so forth. That all comes in handy. This is the high school activity log that you'll find in your swag bag. Now, what to do now? Make sure to go get that swag bag. And you'll have everything that we talked about, including the printable logs and worksheets and transcript. You can contact me. I'm either at Katie's Homeschool Cottage or Katie's HS Cottage. That's at Pinterest, YouTube, Facebook is. I also have a Facebook group called Homeschool Mom's Corner. Instagram. My website is katieshomeschoolcottage.com, and you can contact me anytime at katie@katieshomeschoolcottage.com. Every student has special talents. It is our duty and privilege to find these talents and to adopt our lessons to best implement them. So the high school years is a time to find their talents and interests and really give them a chance to explore. And I leave you with this. As you feel somewhat nervous about the road ahead, I want to leave you with the words, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." And I leave you with that. Thank you for joining me and hanging in with me here. It's been a long workshop, but I hope you found it extremely helpful. And I pray that you find the high school years as fulfilling as my family did. And I know it's going to be successful.